you so much, Tia. I really appreciate all what you've lectured me on right now about, increasing our frequency, raising our vibration, and, working on our consciousness. We have to be intentional about, improving ourselves and getting connected to the source. One thing I want us to still talk about is biohacking. Like,
Sure.
Can you explain this to me? How can I use it to optimize my life also?
So when you're spiritually advanced, meaning you're connected like this and you're working on your frequency, it's impossible not to also want to optimize the physical body. It's literally an alignment thing. So I would actually tell you, and this is my opinion, but I know it's true, that all the work I did first on biohacking and doing all these things to get this, impressive physique and to work on this, and then to also help others attain, health optimization, impressive physique, whatever, better strength and, functional levels of energy as they age, it allowed me to seek this spiritual awareness because my physical body was already aligned. So I always tell people this, and again, this is a tough pill. This is the bitter black pill, right? You cannot be spiritually optimized if you're not physically optimized. Now, a lot of people don't believe that, and they won't hear that. But all the great spiritual teachers and sages have always said, even the Greeks, a sound mind begets a sound body. So if you are physiologically inflamed, obese, comorbid, all sorts of wrecks, you've not lived a clean lifestyle, you've made poor choices, the idea that you can attain high levels of spiritual advancement is pretty minimal. Now, again, a lot of people will hear this and they'll go crazy. They'll say, I go to church every Sunday. I tithe and I give my money. That has nothing to do with your vibration. Nothing. If you're in pain, Toby, and again, people that are inflamed, obese, comorbid, they're in pain. Their bodies biologically are giving off signals that says, I hate this. I hate the way I feel. They're sending out inflammasomes, which are literally pain sparks through their vasculature saying, I feel like absolute dog, you know what? Okay, so again, most of these folks never admit this. They don't even, most of these people are so not in charge of how they feel that they just suffer. And a lot of them suffer in silence. But, back to your question, you definitely need balance. Everything is about balance, okay? I'm working on raising my vibration. I also have to work on improving my fitness.
Yes.
I'm working on raising my vibration. I'm also working on improving my internal work, my mindfulness training. My wife said to me when we first met, when I was 42, she was, again, the mentor for me to change my life. I was fit. And she said, how can a person who looks like you physically not work on your inner game? And I was like, what? What are you talking about? Wow. I had no idea what she was talking about. I did no inner work. I was a prolific reader, but I was in the left brain, man. I was in the mind. I was in the levels of like 250 to 300, intellectual. I didn't have my heart open. I wasn't working on my inner self and my inner being, my higher self. So she taught me how to do all that. So the reality is like you have to constantly work on yourself. I always like to capitalize self, your higher self, at all times to attain a level of mind, body, heart, spiritual awareness. To truly get to here at all levels requires work. And again, I don't even call it work. It's just effort. A consistent every single day approach that says, hey, I'm working on being the best person that I can be from all levels. Again, mind, body, heart, soul. How am I going to do that? Well, you set that up. You become accountable for your time. For me, it's my calendar. I'm a very busy guy, right? So I live by my calendar. My calendar is my ultimate arbiter of my time, which, as you know, is precious, which doesn't even exist outside of this dimension.
Yeah.
But in this dimension, time is important because we go by linear progression. True. We start at 5 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning, and then we go to 10 o'clock at night or 9:30 at night or whatever time people go to bed. Wake up earlier. That's always a really good way to change the time balance of a person's life. A lot of people, that's hard for them because they're very productive at night. They do a lot of their best work late at night, but
yes,
all of the great thinkers and sages and accomplished business people, and again, however you define success, wake up really early. Because early in the morning is the time when you can actually get things done without people bothering you. But there's also something from a spiritual side that a lot of people don't talk about, and that is that early in the morning is when you have prions in nature. And prions are the energy of creation. Okay. If you go out early in the morning before light comes up, it's kind of, I mean, it's sort of daylight, but it's not sun up. So it's like, morning, crack of dawn, there's no sun, but you have daylight. You get the, whatever is called the twilight.
Yeah.
That's when there's prions everywhere in that energy. So if you take your dog and you go out there and you meditate or you sit in that energy, man, that is some profound energy. And that energy is free and available to anyone. But you got to wake up early. And very few people want to wake up early. It's not easy to wake up early, right? You're in a sound sleep and you feel good. And now you're getting up and you're like, oh man, I'm groggy. And the older you get, the harder it is. I mean, I'm 50 now, dude. And believe me, I have a lot of aches and pains, man. I got joint things. And so it's like, sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm like, fuck, I want to just roll over and go back to sleep. But I don't. I get up. I get up and I go out and I do what I got to do.
Yeah.
To be who I am. But that's, that's one thing that anybody can do right away to improve their life by waking up earlier.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that tip. That's very useful. How can we know when our soul is nurtured enough for us to, start practicing biohacking?
Yeah. So, I mean, it really just depends on your goals. What are you looking to do? I mean, for most people, they're looking to age healthily. And that means, they're functionally strong. I always tell people, you want to be able to pick up your grandkids in your 60s and 70s without pain. Right. So, I mean, like, most people go from, say, the age of, late 20s to early 30s are in their physical peak. That's when they're most energized. They have the most synovial fluid in their joint capsules. And they can just do, they can play, night sports, compete in adult, sports leagues, play volleyball, play basketball, play softball, whatever. This all starts to end at about 36 to 38, depending on people's genetics and their obviously fitness level and, how long they've been practicing and all that stuff. But at that time is like the best time usually to start adding, what I call biohacks, to start changing the game, so to speak, from changing your body composition with aid, right? So like, again, it really comes down to goals. I mean, I don't really do a lot of consulting anymore with individuals. I have groups and stuff like that, but it just depends on what you want to do. There's people out there that want to compete in a Ironman. There's people out there that want to compete in a physique or fitness or bikini competition. So it's like, it just depends on what you want to do. But I look at like, you really start adding in biohacking tools and tricks in your mid 30s. Okay. And then from doing that in your mid 30s into your early 40s, it will create a baseline or, some foundational / fundamental principles that will allow you to maintain your health as you age. Couple of things I can just give you, I can talk supplements and drugs and nutrition and all that stuff all day long, but like, for most people, you have to control your insulin. I call it living insulin controlled. Insulin controlled is just regulating your carbohydrate consumption. Every person genetically handles carbohydrate digestion differently. Okay. Depending on your genetics, depending on your energy demand, depending on your amount of muscle fiber typing that you have. Again, there's a lot of equations, a lot of variables. You will be able to eat a certain amount of carbohydrates a day without depositing them as body fat. Okay. Now every person has to figure this out because we're all unique in that way. But once you do, you can pretty much change the way you eat and change the way you exercise based on your carbohydrate consumption. So, I'll just give you an example. Like, you're here today, tons of people talk about specific diets.
Yes.
Right? They talk about keto diets, carnivore diets, if it fits your macros, low carb, moderate carb, zone. I mean, I can go on and on and on. I know all this stuff. I've forgotten all of it, right? But what you really have to do, Toby, is you have to be able to understand what is called, or I refer to as, metabolic flexibility. You must fuel your body relative to your energetic demand. So if you're a bodybuilder or a fitness guy or girl and you want to build muscle,
yes,
you have to eat carbohydrates. Now, you can think that you don't have to eat carbohydrates because you read some muscle magazine or some article online from some bro who told you that you can go keto and build muscle, whatever, right? There's always outliers for everything. But when you understand the laws of thermodynamics and you understand the energy that is necessary to fuel short twitch, muscular movements, you have to have carbohydrates, which is obviously the stored form of glucose, which forms glycogen in your muscles to refuel and power your workouts, right? So if you're a triathlete or an ultra endurance cyclist, you could probably eat a ketogenic diet. So what I'm saying is, your diet and your nutritional strategy has to remain flexible, metabolically flexible, so that you can fill your body's or feed your body's energy demands relative to whatever performance that you do. So someone like me, for example, I don't compete in anything anymore. At one time, I was a physique competitor, and I won a bunch of shows. This is a long time ago. The last show I competed in was when I was 44. I'm 50. I'm almost 51. I'll be 51 in February. So I don't have any need to do any of that stuff, but I still am in great shape. I still keep very low body fat. Various times in the year, I'll have a 6-pack, and I look good. My wife is also incredibly fit. And so we have a fasting lifestyle. Now, obviously, I've written multiple books on fasting, 3, in fact. And so I understand fasting, at a very unique high level. But even in fasting programs or fasting protocols, you still have to remain metabolically flexible. You have to understand that on your days that you're not eating, which are your fasting days or your fasting windows, you can't train. And I know this is going to piss people off, but I don't care. You can't train at a high level from a lifting or explosive standpoint because you don't have the fuel in your glycogen stores to power you through that workout. And if you're old, and when I say old, I mean like late 40s or older, and you train with no muscle glycogen, you're literally asking for catastrophic injury because your body needs glycogen to fuel explosive performance. Not having glycogen, relying on protein or fat to train explosively is just ignorance of the energetic systems that power you energetically when you're training. There's 3 different energy systems. It's too esoteric to talk about, but you cannot train at a high level as an aging athlete without risking serious injury if you don't have carbohydrates. So what does that mean? Well, like in my diet, I eat Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I train with weights Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and I eat relatively unrestrained because those are days I eat. On Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't eat. Now I eat and break my fast at night, usually, depending on how ripped I want to be, and I have one meal, right? So I go 20 to 21 hours, sometimes even longer without eating on my fasting days. On my fasting days, I'm doing cardio, moderate intensity, low impact, of course. Now, if you're, how old are you? What are you, your late 20s, early 30s?
27, yeah.
27. So for you, energetically, you can do higher impact cardio than I can because, again, you have more synovial fluid in your joint capsules, which is going to insulate you from injury. You can squat deep, you can jump high, you can do plyometric training, box leaps, all that stuff. There's no issue. But when you're in your late 40s or early 50s and you do that one wrong lean or jump or movement and you got a spinal injury because, again, you don't have cushion. So in reality, as an aging person, on your non-eating days, your fast window days, your cardio should be low impact and it should be moderate intensity. It should not be high intensity because it's the same shit as lifting. If you tap high energy systems like doing interval training or fartlek training or any of that stuff, Tabata, We're going to tap muscle protein when your body is running on, either ketones or free fatty acids, which is fat as its primary fuel. And as soon as you tap muscle, you just broke your fast. So not only have you broken your fast, which sucks, you've also tapped muscle protein, which breaks down muscle, which degrades your physique. So again, these are science type things that the average person has no absolute understanding of. So it's like once you get to a level of fasting where you've been doing it for a year or so, or even longer, you're going to understand that just naturally, because you'll feel like shit if you start doing high intensity cardio when you're fasting. You can't be 20 hours into a fast and start doing high intensity cardio. You're not going to have any energy.
No.
Right. But I mean, again, until you understand that through either experience or listening to a nerdy science guy like me, you're going to fail. You're going to experience like, oh man, I have no energy. I felt like shit. And then you're going to feel worse after because you just broke muscle down, and now your body's like in a debt of like, oh shit, I just broke muscle. Because obviously you don't want to break muscle in fasting. So if you want, we can talk about all sorts of supplements and things that I also recommend. For people, we could talk about peptides, we could talk about metformin, we could talk about using therapeutic hormones. I mean, unfortunately, even now, dude, guys at your age and girls have to seriously consider looking at getting their blood work done because the environment is so contaminated. It's so contaminated. There are so many plastic, adjuvants, phthalates, BPA, endocrine disrupting chemicals. I mean, I just wrote, a very deep article on this 2 weeks ago for my website about endocrine disrupting chemicals and how they're everywhere. I mean, these things emasculate both men and women. So what does that mean? It makes a man more feminine, and it makes a woman more masculine. It's the opposite effect. So this is where we're at right now. So, I mean, in reality, if you really want to, what I call live life fully optimized, you have to really look into these things, and you have to take, proactive action. I like to say you have to become the scientist of your own health, and you have to do blood work, and you have to really understand, like, are you feeling run down? Like, are you weak? Are you like this or that at various points in times of the day? And then, once you do your blood work and you analyze things, then you can make an educated, decision as whether or not you need to start optimizing your hormones. I don't think someone at your age, unless you're competing, should use peptides. You don't need peptides. You have high enough IGF-1 levels, which is growth hormone levels now, that doesn't require you to use peptides. I mean, if you were injured, if you're severely injured, you have like an ankle sprain or an elbow blowout or a shoulder blowout, you could, use the healing peptides. In fact, I just wrote an article yesterday called the Wolverine stack, right? On like how to use peptides to heal at like 10 times the speed of natural. Right. So, but I mean, like, it just depends, bro. Like if you want to go deeper and talk about those kind of things, we can.
Hi, friend. Are you enjoying this episode? We would love to hear from you. Kindly send us a feedback. Are you following us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, maybe on YouTube and other podcast platforms? Are you following us on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook? We would love to connect with you on all platforms. Links and further details are available in the show notes of this episode. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I really love the fact that we are talking about, living a fully optimized life. We've looked at, frequency, energy. We've looked at, building your spiritual life. And now we've talked about, you've also educated us on, the physical life also, like, working on your diet, choosing the right diet for yourself. And I'm going to place the link of your blog and your website in the show note of the episode. So anyone who's interested who's interested in reading the blog posts could just click on the link, copy the link, and read all the wonderful articles that Jay has been writing. They're very insightful and very eye-opening, I would say.
And by the way, I have a link for you, and you can put it in the links at the bottom of the show too when it runs. But I'll say it now. I give away most of my books for free. You can't be who I am without giving away stuff for free. I mean, I give them away as PDFs. If you go to JAY letter C and then my last name, Campbell, CAMPBELL. So jccampbell.com/free books. There's like 5 books, which I think there's only 2 of them that I don't give away yet. I don't give away this one yet, but I will probably soon. But yes, they are tip of the spear. If you want information about health optimization, using peptides, meditating, I mean, everything is in those books, man. They're like really, really advanced. And thankfully now a lot of people are reading them, which is awesome. But yeah, feel free to go to that site and download them for free.
Yeah, thank you so much for that.
Sure.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So now for someone out there who's like, so, pumped up, so fired to work on, the frequency, on energy, to work on, being physically fit like you are. But there are some things that are injuring, maybe like technology or, bad waves or something that is hindering one's growth in the spiritual realm or in the physical realm. What are the things that we could do? Like, can you talk about technology and the effect of technology on living an optimized life, and what are the other hindrances that could come on our way that we should work against?
Beautiful, man. It's a great question. Man, I don't want to talk about the dark side. So I'll just say, I'll just say this. On planet Earth, we are in the third dimension, right? We already talked about duality. We already talked about equal and opposite energies, right? So there has to be a dark side and there has to be a light side. So, but the dark and the light, if you understand the Hermetic teachings, the pendulum is always swinging, right? In the third dimension. So again, the light becomes dark and the dark becomes light. So the dark and the light is really an invention in our own mind, right? Like the darkness is in our mind just as the light is in our mind. It's making the choice through free will of whom you want to serve. Remember I said vibration is everything. If you have a high vibration, you serve the light. If you have a low vibration, you serve the dark. These are very, very simple edicts that the masters and the sages told us thousands of years ago. But again, nobody pays attention to it until you get to that level. The energy of technology is dark, all of it. Now, you and I have a choice to use it for good. You and I are doing a podcast right now from Germany to Southern California, thousands of miles away across the Atlantic Ocean. And we're still using the dark side technology to benefit humans, right? So again, you and I are vibrating here right now, choosing to drop this amazing resonant information to serve people who want to serve the light.
Yes.
Okay. So in truth, technology is whatever it's used for. But if we go deeper and we go back to the ancients and we start talking about Atlantis and we start talking about Lemuria and we start talking about all these previous epics of human history, technology was always the downfall. So technology in previous epics has led to the decline of civilization. So I think it's not very difficult to make a very serious analogy right now, Toby, that this planet hangs in the balance because of technology. People are lazier, they're fatter, they're sicker, because this provides the easy button, as I like to call it. Everybody can just click on the easy button and they can have everything delivered to them. They don't have to think. I mean, think about this. Hey, Siri. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Think for me. So in truth, as a human, what I call a divine, sovereign, empowered, and free resonant human, you have to choose whether you want to be a creator utilizing technology to create beauty and divine conceptual things, whatever it is, whether it's content, blogs, articles, products, whatever, again, in the service to everybody else, or, and that's serving the light, or you can be a consumer of the dark side's technology, going from porn to video games to Netflix to CNN, rinse and repeat, not contributing, not creating, totally being a victim, because the narrative is fear, 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 do this, do that, get 10 vaccines, right? It's all fear programming. The narrative is fear programming. So again, technology is literally up to you and how you want to utilize it in your life. If you're using it in creative, divine creative energy to serve humanity, it's awesome. But if you're using it to consume and you're not creating, it's terrible. But to answer the question too, like this stuff, you have to protect yourself, right? Like I would yell at you right now and say, why are you not wearing your your blue light blocking glasses? The energy coming from the screen is damaging your retinal. Or your retina. There you go. Yeah.
I have one right here.
But I mean, it really is damaging your optic nerve. It's damaging your retina. So all of this stuff, to make it, a very generalized assumption, is bad to divine human biological systems. Some capacity, it's damaging us. So what do we do? What does that mean? Well, we have to be proactive and we have to take protection. We have to walk away from this during the day. 3 times a day, I go outside in my field, my backyard. Sometimes I walk around my block in my neighborhood where I live. I live in, God's country. It's usually blue sky, spectacular every day. Sometimes I take my dog. Sometimes my wife and I will take a walk. But I walk away from this. I've programmed interruptions and breaks from being in this, right? Same thing with, I don't watch TV anymore. Although I will say that my daughter is a cheer and she's really good. And so sometimes, we go downstairs in our living room and we put her cheer stuff on the big screen and I watch that, right?
Yeah.
But if you are a slave to your technology, you are being disrupted. You cannot be sleeping in your bedroom with these charging next to your head, okay? These things are massive EMF devices. They are sending out electromagnetic frequency pulses that damage your brain, that damage your eyes, that damage your vascular network. I mean, I could tell you all sorts of things. When you hold these in your hand, when they have, a really high grade military spec plastic to protect them from breaking, every time your hand touches these polymers get through the cuticle of your hand. Yeah. And they degrade your endocrine system. So, I mean, again, dude, I don't want to like sound the alarm and sound like a, conspiracy nut, even though I am. The reality is that all of this shit is bad. So you have to limit your consumption. Remember, back to consumption or creation. Yes. How you use it. Are you doing it to create better things for humanity? Or are you using it for consuming the dark side's enslavement technologies? It's literally that simple. Creation, regulation, and then interruption, programmed interruption, or consumption and enslavement. Because once you consume all the time, they've got you. They own the narrative now.
True.
Your brain is literally pliable and being neuroplastically programmed by their frequency, which is the narrative, right? The narrative of fear. Well, it doesn't matter what it is. Every single thing, again, people want to think that alternative news is different than CNN, MSNBC, or Fox. It's not. The same people at the top own all of the channels. They just want you to think that one of them is different than the other. Again, remember that divide and conquer. Yes. They want you to opt in and choose a side. Oh, man, I only watch alternative news, bro. I'm woke. Come on, man. Don't watch any of the news. Meditate and get your answers from the source frequency. Right? Yeah. I mean, that's what you have to do. I mean, I'm not going to lie and say that all of us are living in the third dimension and we're going to get bombed by stuff. People are going to send me texts with, hey, bro, check out this tweet, and then you click on it and you're like, oh, shit, I just got sucked in. So you have to regulate your consumption and focus on your creation. Perfect example. Every day I do my morning ritual. Today I trained. On Monday, Wednesday, and Friday I trained with my wife. But I go into my day creating. There's no consuming here. You cannot be Jay Campbell and consume. You have to be creating. Yes. I mean, so I'm creating every day. So again, going back to how do you raise your vibration? You serve humanity at your highest and best in your endeavor. But are you creating or are you consuming? Most people are creating. A janitor is creating. The janitor is sweeping the floors every day. He's creating. He's creating a path of cleanliness that people can walk on. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you have to really understand that there are a lot of people who are wage slaves who literally sit in cubicles and now they're sitting on their Zoom calls. And bro, they're not creating jack shit. They're watching porn or playing video games at their hour desk getting paid an hourly job. What are they doing? You see what I'm saying? So it's like each of us has to get to a place in our life where we're creating to help humanity. Yes. Sitting at a cubicle desk, and again, I'm not judging or condemning anyone, but sitting at a cubicle desk doing some BS job is not creating for anyone. They're a slave for a paycheck. Now, if that's where you are, that's cool. But you should work on getting out of that so that you're in charge of yourself, right? And you're creating for the universe. Yeah. Because I always tell people, you can create for the universe with just your mind and your desire. People say, but bro, I've been doing this for 20 years. I don't know anything else. That's bullshit. That's a story that you tell yourself. Each human being has gifts. It's up to us to define and to expose those gifts to humanity. And a lot of people, when they're down here, bro, are in fear. They can't define their purpose or define their mission or find and create the gifts that they have. But we all have gifts. Some of us work harder to expose those gifts. Some of us have to go through dark nights of the soul. Yes. To have the gifts, pulled out of you. I always say this. Ask any 100 men or women on the street. If you randomly survey them and you walk up to them and you say, hey, Toby, what is your mission and purpose in life? 1 out of 100 would have an answer. Yeah. Almost every person would say, oh, I'm a dad, or I work here, or I'm a husband. They wouldn't say what their mission and purpose. Somebody comes up the street and says, Jay, what is your mission and purpose in life? My mission and my purpose is to serve humanity through, and then I have 5, 6 different things I would tell you. Yes. You see what I'm saying? But I have developed that mission and purpose by working on it, by figuring it out, And again, I was a wage slave until I was 41 years old. I was an executive vice president wage slave, a highly paid wage slave. As I always tell people, dude, when you're working for somebody else, you're nothing more than an employee ID number. And there's an accountant in your company looking to get rid of you because you make too much money. The higher you ascend in the corporate ladder, the faster, more at risk you are. Yes. Literally. Yes. Yeah. People don't understand that. You have a lot of young people that probably watch you, but there's absolutely no reason to work for anybody else other than, and I agree, I think everyone should, to learn. To learn what not to do, right? Yes. And to learn work habits, to understand discipline, to understand self-control and autonomy. I have amazing respect for young guys that create things in their teenage years, and there are many. But the average person needs to work for an employer from, say, 20 to 25 or 22 to 28 before they can go out and become a successful entrepreneur. Because if you don't, you're not going to have the habits that are necessary. Tim Ferriss's great book, The 4-Hour Work Week. I mean, Tim would never have been able to write that book if he wasn't a wage slave until he was 30. You know what I mean? So he figured that out at an early age and then created that life for himself. But you cannot, for most people, and I know there's exceptions, but most people have to work for somebody for a little bit while to understand what it takes to become a successful entrepreneur, because those habits are not just built, they have to be experienced.
Yes, you have to learn from experience. Yeah, yes.
Everything is experience. Everything.
Yes.
Literally everything. You cannot be a master. The ancient Egyptians did not allow any mystery school adherent or what would you call it, an initiate until you were 40. You couldn't even apply until you were 40 because you did not have enough life experience to move into an adept. There's no way. You didn't have enough time. And so now think about the internet has done to people's minds. There's guys on the internet, Twitter, Google, Instagram, YouTube, telling you they're the master at 25. It's retardation, dude. But they have so many people. Like the pickup game guys, right? Like they got all these channels of 24 and 25-year-old guys telling you that they're pickup artists and stuff like that. And it's like, dude, you're 24, 25. What the fuck do you know? You haven't lived it. But again, the internet has changed everything because it's allowed people to manipulate people.
Your mission is to serve humanity through various things that you do. Like you have 5 or more things that you create to serve humanity. And one of it is one thing I'm very excited to talk about is about your product that you create. You're the co-founder of Azia Custom. Yeah. I would love you to tell me more about your products and what was your purpose of creating Azia products, Azia Custom.
Yeah, no, for sure. So Azia Custom is our cosmeceutical peptide company. And right now we have 4 products. We probably have 10 products coming in the next year. But the mission with creating the company was to create literal real solutions for millennia old problems that no one had ever been able to solve. And primarily it's for problems with the hair and problems with the skin. You know, as I was saying at the very beginning before you and I went live, dude, hair loss is the biggest problem on planet Earth. And for the last 30 years, the majority of people on this planet thought that hair loss was due to dihydrotestosterone formation in the scalp. And again, DHT is what it's called, was the quote unquote root cause / rabbit hole of teaching people how to understand how to solve hair loss issues. And Nick Andrews, who's my business partner and the founder, the formulator of the company, I'm the co-founder, him and I did a lot of research into looking into what really caused hair loss. And eventually we wrote an article that came out on Ben Greenfield, the big biohacker's website early this year that explains for the first time ever that hair loss is not caused by DHT or DHT inhibition. And hair loss, just for the listeners, the audience and the listeners, is actually caused by a lack of blood flow to the scalp. Okay, when you break it down to its base essence, that's what causes hair loss. Okay, so the actual hair loss is caused by a million different things: inflammation, systemic and topically, heavy metal exposure, genetics, living an inflammatory lifestyle, eating a shitty diet, having massive stress, getting poor sleep. I mean, I could come up with 100 more things. So the answer to solve hair loss issues was to improve the health of the scalp. So our product is called Oxano Grow, and we're currently in the second version. The third version is coming very soon. Actually is a peptide-based product. It has copper peptide GHKCU, and that's serum A, and it's a 2-phase formulation. And then serum B is nanomolecule carbon-60. Now, when you put these 2 products into the scalp as a topical application, and right now the current version 2 is a spray bottle. Version 3 is going to be an actual applicator. Shh, don't tell anybody. I just broke that. Nobody knows that. Now they do when they watch this podcast.
Yes.
But the reality is that together in the scalp, they do 3 or 4 things. They massively improve what is called angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is red blood cell formation to the targeted tissue. Okay, so when you increase red blood cell formation anywhere on the human body, especially in the skin or the hair, you stimulate the regrowth of the skin or hair follicles. So in the scalp, angiogenesis allows the natural hair follicle to regrow to a healthy state. Okay, now that's mostly from the copper peptide GHKCU. The carbon-60, it's a nanomolecule, is doing 2 things primarily. It's acting as what we call a molecular sponge, and it's pulling down all of the copper peptide into the scalp for maximizing absorption. But it's also, and this is where it's important, it's also getting rid of the micro-inflammatory agents that come about from everyday living, walking, being exposed in the sun, working in a factory and having heavy metal toxicity or exposure or whatever. There's a million micro-inflammations that can happen to your hair during the course of the day. It's also ridding those more efficiently. So when you use both of those products together, and it's literally a spray in the scalp, and then you spray it into the scalp, and then you have to massage it into the scalp. It's important that people, especially women, realize that it's not about spraying it into the hair. It's about spraying it into the scalp and then massaging the scalp so that the products absorb into the scalp. Because again, scalp health is what allows the follicles themselves to be stimulated and then simulated so that they regrow. So that's how you regrow hair. And again, Toby, we've had the product out since June 5th of 2020. We have a full patent. If you go on our website, aseircustom.com, and you read the reviews, it's like, wow. Most men are blown away because they think we're a scam. Because most men have been using the bullshit hair products that have been in the marketplace for the last 30 years, which is finasteride, dutasteride, Propecia, Rogaine, minoxidil, all these garbage, snake oil, scammy shit, that they're used to buying that not only doesn't work, but the worst part is it literally attaches to the follicles in the scalp. And when you stop using it, your hair falls out. Now, beyond that, the drugs, the big pharma agents, which is finasteride, dutasteride, and Propecia, they actually also cause all sorts of biological system side effects because you're inhibiting, which is meaning you're blocking, dihydrotestosterone, which is a natural chemical or biochemical cascade from male and female hormonal systems. So essentially, you're disrupting the hormonal pathway by using a DHT blocking medication, which causes, dude, literally all sorts of shitty side effects. Sexual dysfunction, depression, mood alteration, and disorder. I mean, dude, I could go on and on and on. There's actually a disease now in the medical literature called PFS, post-finasteride syndrome, that comes from men using finasteride and Propecia in their scalp and makes them depressed and moody. And dude, I've personally, I tell people this all the time. I've said this on other podcasts. I know 2 men that have killed themselves over it. Okay. So one of the reasons that Nick and I wanted to do what we were going to do is that we knew that these drugs that were the quote unquote known and assumed answers now were toxins. And so we wanted to create a product that not only would take them down eventually, and they will, but create a product with no side effects.
Yeah. Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Yes.
So even crazier is like, when people start using our product, they say, as I told you before the show, they're like, okay, so, I got to use this forever, right? And we're like, no. And they look at you like, what do you mean? I'm like, once you regrow your hair, and I'm living proof, you don't have to use it again. Bro, I haven't put it in my head in 3 months. I haven't used it in 3 months. The last time I used it was in the very beginning of August. Wow. And look at my hair. And if you, go back and Google search me and look at my hair from 2019 and even into early 2020, you'll see I didn't have any hair. But we have thousands of other people like this, okay, that have regrown their hair. Now, this works for women equally well. Women that have thyroid imbalances, they have even COVID hair, dude. That's a thing now. COVID damages and causes inflammatory responses in various tissues. ACE receptor areas and stuff like that. So COVID hair is a thing. It will help that. It will help autoimmune disorders or autoimmune regulated disorders for the hair. And even if you had chemotherapy and lost all your hair, this product will regrow your hair or improve the regrowth of your hair after chemotherapy. So it works for pretty much anyone. Now, again, as I told you off air, this is a huge caveat, very important. You cannot be a giant, fat, disgusting, terrible shaped person and get good results with our product because it simulates your cellular health. So if you're taking care of yourself, okay, you will get phenomenal results. I have, people who have regrown their hair in 3 weeks because they're in amazing cellular health. They have no inflammation. They take care of themselves. They eat clean. They train. They sleep well. They meditate. So it's, again, don't be a person who lives a shitty lifestyle and think you can buy our product and get great results. You won't get any results. You'll throw your money away. Now the product, Toby, is expensive. And it's expensive because this type of product is a light sensitive, heat reactive, fractionated protein peptide based product. It costs money to manufacture. Not only does it cost money to manufacture, it is sensitive for us to scale it. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy to make a massive order. Like, if Joe Rogan called me tomorrow and said, hey, man, I want you and Nick to come on the show, we'd be like, sorry, bro, can't do it. because you'd sell so many bottles that we wouldn't be able to produce it in time. Now we're working on our manufacturing process so that we can get to a scalable level where somebody like that would only have to wait a week.
Yeah.
But we're not there yet. And we tell people, because dude, people will say, Jay, it costs $250. And we're like, yeah, we tell you that it lasts up to 90 days. So it's 75 to 78 or $80 a month.
Yes.
Okay. For
That's
most people. But in truth, most people, in the world think that more is better. And so they over apply it and they spray too much. And, before you know it, it's gone in 30 days. And they're like, you're ripping me off. And we're like, no. And I'll just be honest and tell you that, like, we don't even have a heavy profit margin, bro. I already told you, we're not about money. We're about helping people, right? We're about getting this into the world so that people know. Now, the other products are a serum and a cream for the face, which is bar none the best product on planet Earth. Any woman who's aging and has fine lines and wrinkles or skin issues. I mean, bro, look at me. I'm 50, dude. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't look 50, right? No. So, I mean, like, when you put this stuff on your skin, it's pretty profound. I mean, there's nothing like it. Most women who use this product will stop and throw away everything else. So we have a serum that goes on first, and then a cream, which is a moisturizer, which goes on second. A lot of women, and by the way, men can use this product. I mean, we have tons of MMA fighters that use it. It literally seals your face. So if you're getting nicks and cuts and scrapes from the gi, from training, if you're doing BJJ or whatever, dude, it will completely heal your face in one day. I mean, literally, it'll you can't have like a 6-inch gash, but if you got little tiny, abrasions and cuts and nicks, they'll be gone in 24 hours, 48 hours. But it's pretty profound stuff. Like most women and guys who use it, rave about it. And the truth is, you can go on the website and you can read all the reviews. They're all Yotpo. They're not paid reviews. They're legit reviews from people that use the product, and they rave about it. Most of the women say they've thrown away everything else. They're like, they won't use anything else. Now, our newest product is a brow and lash product, which is obviously for women, but there's guys out there probably using that too. So I don't discriminate. But it's amazing. It's a peptide-based product too. It will massively regrow your brow and lashes. It's better than anything else in the marketplace. I put my name against that. And we launched it at the end of August, and we probably have like 10 reviews now. They're all 5-star, of course, because the women are like, I can't believe this. I've never been able to regrow my brow and lashes. And again, so people understand this. Nick, my business partner, as I told you off air, is one of the smartest biochemical formulators on planet Earth. He worked in the big pharma space for 23 years, biopharma, big pharma. He saw what not to do. He saw all the high-level, big name, which I won't mention in the podcast, make their products. He audited their factories. He audited their warehouses. He audited their manufacturing facilities. And he was like, when we built this, he's like, dude, I know how to make stuff that will blow people away. Wow. And it will be legal. And it will be harmless and safe and no side effects, and it will change the world. And I'm like, let's do it, bro. And as I told you, the story of the brand is my wife was using the face stuff in September of 2019. When he sent it to me, she stole it from me. I didn't even know she was using it. And she came to me 2 weeks later and she goes, what is this? And I'm like, how do you know what that is? And she's like, I've been using it. And I said, that's Nick's stuff. And she goes, dude, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. You guys got to sell this. So then, this year brand was launched. I'll just give you 2 more things or 3 more things. So we have a beard product coming, which is Oxano Beard, which will be the best beard product on earth too. Most beard products are oil-based. This will be a water-based product, which guys are going to love because they're not going to get the oil stains. And it has an emollient in it, so it's going to feel literally amazing. If you've ever used like tea tree shampoo and you get that tingly, healthy, really like, wow, my scalp feels good. It'll feel that in your beard. And then there's going to be a conditioner for the hair for guys like me. You get regrowth. You don't need to use the main product anymore, but you want to just use something like once or twice a month. Well, you'll buy the conditioner.
Oh,
right. Yes. So that's coming, and hopefully, depending on all the supply chain nonsense, that will be here in January. We actually wanted to have it here by December, but it looks like it's going to be a couple months later. And then the last product, which I can tell people, which will be a true game changer, is a product called So zero side effects. So all of these men and women out there get injected with, and I've never done it, by the way, I'll be honest, never done it. My wife's done it. But they inject themselves with a neurotoxin to get rid of fine lines and wrinkles. Our shit will be as good, if not better, and have no neurotoxicity.
Wow, that's good. That's very good.
Like a literal game-changing product. That product is probably going to be out, probably end of first quarter in a perfect world next year, 2022.
Yes, awesome. I'm looking forward to also trying it out myself personally,
of course,
to see how it works. Yeah, and that way you serve humanity is through your podcast. Like, it's so awesome that you have this amazing podcast where you talk about everything, even more than we've talked about right now in this episode. For listeners out there who would love to hear more about you, get connected with you. Can you tell us about your podcast a little bit, and what are some of the greatest lessons that you've gotten from the guests and from the different episodes that you've had on your podcast?
Yeah, for sure. So actually, it's funny. No coincidence is again in the universe. My 300th episode breaks on Monday of next week. So I've been a long-time podcaster. I've been podcasting since 2015. It's always been just once a week. And I've been totally blessed. The first 2 years of the podcast actually 3 years, was TOT Revolution podcast. And I interviewed some of the most amazing doctors, researchers. I mean, I interviewed a couple people that won the Nobel Prize. I mean, it was mind-blowing, the people that I got a chance to meet. And then subsequently, since 2019, when I changed it to the Jay Campbell podcast, which was in November. So technically 2 years old. So technically now 5 years in the podcast. I've met so many amazing people. I'm trying to think like real highlights. Nobody stands out because I feel that everybody, is the same. I really look at people, with an opportunity. I mean, obviously the people that are more energetic, I'm very picky now. So, because I'm so busy with the seer, like if you want to get on the Jay Campbell podcast now, you have to be spiritual. And, you have to like interest me. If I read something, it has to be like, oh, wow, that's cool. I have all sorts of like really high level researchers and doctors that want to get on, and I'm like, I'm not going to talk to them about shit. I don't care, man. Like, I'm over that. It's about spirituality. It's about consciousness, raising the frequency. Yes. But I made, so many amazing people. We're all, the lesson would be everyone who's a child of the light has the same mission. It's about connecting with like-minded, raising the frequency, and truly, I hate saying the word, but it's about saving planet Earth, bro. Because let's face it, if we don't raise the frequency, we are going to blow ourselves up again. This is all going to end, and we're going to reboot, and it's going to be back to the Stone Ages. I mean, I know it sounds terrible, but it's just the truth. I mean, I don't think that. I really believe if, I put my camera up, I have up here, can't see it, but it says manifesting a golden age. Yes, I literally live that frequency. I tell people I'm creating the golden age. Me and Nick are new earth architects. We are creating the golden age with our products and services. So I live that frequency, but I'm not going to be stupid and think that if more people don't wake up, that this planet is not going to change. And it's not going to change for the positive. So, if I can leave any lasting legacy, it's that you're not going to die. You're a physical body, a spiritual being having a physical body experience. Learn that, know that, live that, be okay with that. Realize that you're an infinite being, and that as an infinite being, you are going to have as many chances to do it over or get it right as you need. So if you're vibrating right here, that's fine. If you're vibrating right here, that's even better. But keep working on even moving it higher. I don't think you can get over 500. I think as a human being, you're right. This is where you're stuck. And as you said earlier in the show, you're going to drop down into here at times because you're a human being.
Yes.
Your ego is going to keep you in survival. That's what you're designed to do. So as a high vibrating human, when you drop down, just remember to go back up. You have the path, you have the techniques, you have the strategies, you know what to do to get back up. So just do that. But honestly, brother, man, it was an honor to be here with you today. I truly appreciate it. For people that want to connect with me online, my podcast on YouTube is J Campbell 333, the angel number 333, the connection between the master teachers in spirit and your mind, body, and spirit, right? That's why it's J Campbell 333 everywhere. Instagram, Twitter, you can reach me. And if you want to email my team, and you need to get a hold of me, you can send an email to contact@jayccampbell.com.
Awesome. I'm going to place all of this information in the show notes of this episode. So everyone is encouraged to copy the link, click on the link and get across to Campbell.
Yep.
Contact his team also. Buy the product, try them out, and also listen to the podcast to wake up so that we could all, generate high frequencies to keep this planet alive.
Awesome,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jay. I really appreciate everything I've been able to learn from you. If I start to recap, it's going to be a different episode again to recap everything that you've taught me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, man. It was an honor to be here. And I'm, again, truly grateful for the opportunity. So any way I can serve you or your audience, just let me know and I'm happy to.
Wow. You made it to the very end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'm grateful for your time, your love, and your contributions. Subscribe, like, review, and share this podcast. God bless you. Bye.